Being a wedding photographer for 8 years has changed my entire life in so many ways. It's also changed my character. It's changed my identity. It's changed the way I perceive myself, the way I perceive others, the way I prioritize my life, the way I treat myself, the way I set my boundaries, the way I look at competition, and the way I get to show up as authentic as possible because it wasn't smooth sailing when I first started. And with any career you're getting into, if you don't know your way around, you have to figure it out. You have to figure out exactly who you are in that space. You have to figure out all the moving pieces, the chess pieces, whether that be parts of your business or the people that you're serving or even your competitors. And there were times that I did not feel like I was good enough as a wedding photographer because I was told that I had to prove myself. There was just one moment that someone told me, in order for you to fit in to this industry as a photographer, you have to prove to us that you're worthy. And something in that didn't sit right with me because I don't need to prove to anybody besides myself that I am worthy. It lit a fire under my ass. I pretty much stepped out of the box, stepped out of my comfort zone, stepped out of the norm from the minute I entered wedding photography. And I started to act like somebody I didn't know because I had to make myself feel uncomfortable in those moments. I didn't know myself yet, and many people were trying to figure out who I was, or so I thought. And as I kept moving through this career of mine, I started to notice patterns within myself, patterns that triggered parts of me, my inner child, you should say. And the things that she would put up with, the need to people please, the need to feel validated, the need to feel like you're the best. That was me for many years. I would say it was probably the first couple of years that I really started to not recognize what this was actually doing to me until I started to see patterns in the way people were treating me, the behavioral patterns, And that's when I started to get tunnel focused and just focus on myself. Because the truth is, if you are a wedding photographer and you're going into this industry, as glamorous as it may seem, you still have to deal with the real life triggers that everybody has to deal with when running their own business. And that includes imposter syndrome. It includes comparison. It includes all the fears and the doubts and the feelings of not feeling good enough. It includes critiquing your own work constantly, like a magnifying glass. It includes getting paranoid when you post your work, wondering if anyone likes it, and the validation that comes with this, because photography is a personal expression. And so we do take it very seriously if someone maybe doesn't like it. And it is tied to our need to people please. It is tied to the need to make others happy. And if you're not careful, you can start to lose yourself in this process. So mindset and beliefs are such a big part of this journey and have been such a big part of this journey for me. Mindset blocks prevent you from being a better version of you, being a better photographer, putting yourself out there, being visible, raising your prices, attracting your dream clients that you really, really, really deserve, because you're too stuck in the old mindset of, I've just got to fit in here. I want you to take out the box from the whole scene. What if you lived outside of this box and you looked in and you saw everybody doing things the way you've always seen it? They were performing. They were people pleasing. They were acting the way everybody should act in the space of social media or the industry, proving themselves as being good enough, when in fact you get lost in that muddle. So instead of trying to prove yourself to be like everyone else, start proving that you aren't like anyone else. Start proving that you're unique in your qualities, in your talents, in your vision, in your expression, in the way you see photography, in the way you see a story, because everybody has a story too. We all have a story to tell. We all have beliefs in our stories, the same way others do, as we perceive a highlight reel to be something of success. That's just perception. Perception is something that is hidden within our beliefs, right? So if you say, I believe that the sky is blue, it is blue, but we all see the color blue differently. Science has proven that we all see that blue very differently from each other. And so if you're perceiving someone else's highlight reel as success, well, maybe their perception of their success is completely different than what you believe. So from what I've learned is that the rose-colored glasses that you have on to make this thing as big as you want it to be has to stay on. And they have to stay on because the moment you take them off, you start to see things that you don't want to see. And they start to ingrain in your patterns of movement, your subconscious thoughts. It can keep you stuck. It can keep you from moving in your journey. So I would say, let's start this process off with step one. And that's identifying what is actually keeping you stuck. So if you're a journaler, grab your pen and paper and start writing these things down, because this is going to help you move through your business in a very intentional way. So the question you want to ask right now in your business is, what problem am I trying to solve right now? So maybe that problem is you're not getting any bookings. Maybe it's fear of raising your prices. Maybe it's imposter syndrome. Maybe it's comparing yourself to others. Maybe it's burnout, or maybe it's fear of showing up online and being visible. So whatever that is, write it down, because when you can face things, then you can start taking action. When you're aware of those things, it's easier to understand where you need to start to move forward. And as you're writing this down, you're going to ask yourself, well, is this actually the problem, or is there something else underneath it? So as I said earlier, we all have triggers in our lives that, have prevented us from moving forward or have triggered us in a way. So for example, if you have been comparing yourself to somebody else, ask yourself why you're comparing yourself to that person. Face that, because it's not that you don't like that person. It's usually something deeper than that. It's usually that you want something that that person has. And deep down, we're all human, and it's okay to say these things out loud. It's okay to say, hey, I am envious of this person. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It just means that you're being aware of something that you're feeling insecure about. Not that you're lacking, not that you're not enough, not that you should be like anybody else, not that you should be perfect either. It's just being aware of why that person is triggering you in the way they are, even if they're not doing anything to you directly. What is the reason? And don't point fingers at people and blame them for it, because they're not thinking about you. They're thinking about their own life. They're thinking about how they get to put food on the table tomorrow. They're thinking about their next moves. They're not thinking about how you feel about them. And maybe they are thinking about what the world thinks about them. But the people that are able to move freely and successfully, it's not that they don't care about people, it's that they're able to move with that fear and do it anyway. They're able to have tunnel vision for their goals. They're able to go after their dreams despite what anyone else thinks, even though they know deep down people are judging them, people are, saying things about them. But they don't spend their time focusing on that. They spend their time focusing on their light, their journey, their confidence, their ability to create the life that they want. That's where success comes from, not from ruminating and thinking about what they think of me, because it doesn't matter. Okay, so you've written those things down. You've gotten really aware and clear of those things, right? Now what you're going to do is step 2. Find that story that you keep repeating. See, our brains, they create stories. And this is the belief that these stories keep us safe. So your story could be, well, I'm not experienced enough, or the market is too saturated. There's too many photographers, or I need more followers first. I need more, engagement. I need more recognition. Or you might say something that I said when I first started, which is people won't buy that. They won't pay for that. So recognize that these stories are just stories. If you put them as fact and true, then they will be true for you. But you get to rewrite a story anytime you want. That's the magic of storytelling. So write that story down. And then I want you to take that story and reframe it, retell it. So if you're going to retell a story, you might say, oh, the market's too saturated. There's a lot of photographers around. Sure, that might be true in some way, but I'm also part of that pool of photographers, but I'm only one of me. I'm unique in my own way. There's no other photographer like me or person like me. Nobody expresses the way I express. And so therefore, I will attract the right clients for me. So see that one mindset shift from, well, there's so many photographers out there, to I get to create from my unique talent, from my unique skill, from my uniqueness, from who I truly am. And that's fun. So you have to question if the story is true, even if it's half true. Is it full truth? Likely yes and no. You could definitely say the market is saturated, but you're not finishing the context of the story. And you also want to ask yourself, where did this come from? Was it other photographers who told you the market's too saturated? Everyone's like coming into the industry and they're taking over jobs and they're undercutting us and da da da. You could tell those stories all day long. You can gossip all day long. I've done it, and we've all done it, where we gossip about other photographers. And what happens is it just keeps you more stuck. Try to stay away from conversations that just include making you feel more and more stuck in that loop of thinking, in that negative thinking, that negative mindset of there's too many photographers. And if you keep talking about it and give it energy, well, that's going to be your reality. What you focus on becomes your reality. So if you tell yourself, oh, they won't pay for that, it's too expensive, well, that's your reality, because you're going to put that energy out there of, I'm too expensive. You're not going to be able to sell confidently. You're not going to be able to show up in the way that you should show up in your work. And it doesn't truly highlight what you do, because you have this belief system that you're not worth it, that your work is not worth it. No one will pay for that. And guess what? That is going to be your reality if you say that, if you continue to say those things. But does it have to be true? No, because again, what you focus on, you create. The abundance mindset doesn't come right away when you're starting wedding photography. It comes with time. When I first started, my first wedding was about $1,500, and I was happy with that. But I started to recognize my true talent by what other people were saying. So then I got the confidence to raise my prices, and it was scary. But I took a deep breath and I said, if I'm worthy, and I know I am, the right people will book me. And I did that. And each time I raised my prices, I just up leveled. I got booked and booked and booked and booked. And that belief system became stronger and stronger. That frequency of receiving more became stronger and stronger. And so I exuded this magnetism for the right people. So step 4, identify where the fear is running your business. So this fear sounds like waiting until you're ready, overthinking, constantly changing your direction, buying another course instead of taking action, and avoiding visibility. So this can be true for any career in our lives, any business that we run. We always have those fears that keep us from moving sometimes, but the trick is to ask, where am I avoiding this discomfort? If you're feeling uncomfortable with doing something, the best way to get through it is to do it. With shooting a wedding for the first time, do it. If you're feeling uncomfortable getting on a sales call and selling, do it. If you're feeling uncomfortable creating a whole new kind of package, raising your prices, do it. That's going to elevate you in a way that you feel like, okay, I'm ready to receive more, but I have to get uncomfortable first. There's no way I can go from 0 to 100. I have to climb. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So the moment you understand that every moment that you take that is uncomfortable, it's only going to make you stronger. It's only going to make you better. It's only going to make you more confident. You're going to learn so much as you go, because we are not all born with knowing everything. We don't know as soon as we get into this business exactly what we're supposed to do. And as long as you love it, you're going to want to learn along the way. So really take in those moments of like, okay, this is uncomfortable, but I'm willing to learn as I go. Okay, so your next step 5 for these mindset blocks now. Step 5, regulate before you strategize. Because here's the truth. You cannot build a calm business from an overworked nervous system, a chaotic lifestyle, overthinking, overanalyzing. You can't come from a place of hustle and burnout to creating a life that you truly love. So your nervous system needs to have some attention. And yeah, this is business, but this is also a sense of wellness as well. If we're not taking care of our bodies, our minds, our souls, everything, we are not able to do our best. We're not able to, set those boundaries the way we should. We're not able to attract the people we want to attract. We're not able to, receive the way we want to receive, or make decisions and strategize the way we should in our business, and have the energy to even do what we want to do, because our nervous system is just surviving. We're on survival mode. Survival mode is probably the worst place you want to be in this business, because it does take a lot out of you. And I've seen photographers go from happy, yay, to burnout and resentment toward clients, resentment towards their family, pretty much burned out. And that's what this course is all about. It's creating systems that give you that lifestyle that you feel like, you're self-regulated. You can make clear decisions. You can have that downtime, that flow, balance in your life without overgiving, without overthinking, without doubting, without, stretching yourself too thin, because this is a demanding job. Wedding photography is something that, I don't regret, because it built me up in my character and my work ethic. But at the same time, I did burn out for a while, and I had to recognize where I was giving too much, where I could outsource, where I could learn systems and automate systems and regulate my nervous system. Because as much as your workflow systems are important in your business, your nervous system is more important. It is more important in any kind of work, in any kind of lifestyle you have. Your nervous system is everything. So asking yourself the question, what does my body need before my business? So it could be going to yoga classes. It could be doing breath work. It could be, EFT tapping. It could be going for walks. It could be just taking those breaks in silence just to, ground yourself again. Because if you're working, hustling, you're behind a desk, you're taking pictures all day long, you're editing all night long, it's not living, right? So we want to come from a place of living that lifestyle. And a lot of times, clarity in your business, ideas, those big ideas that come, they come from slowing down. They come from, being in that restful state. And if you're like me and you're going through menopause, there's a lot of brain fog. So this girl's got to breathe all day long. And step 6 is really important. It is creating the identity, the new identity. So instead of asking, how do I become successful? Ask yourself, what would the version of me who already has everything that I want do? So if I know that I want freedom in my life, I want a lifestyle that supports my family and my business, I want to create an abundance of income, I want dream clients. I want to do destination weddings or elopements, and I want money to be flowing into my bank account at all times. I'm going to start acting like that person. And that person doesn't hustle. That person receives. And that version trusts themselves. That version makes decisions faster. That version stops asking for permission. And that version of me or you takes imperfect action, because that version is not going to be perfect right away. But the version of you who's going to be where you want to be has done these things imperfectly to get there, has done them messy, has learned along. And your success always follows identity shifts. Now, step 7, this is where the action comes in. You're going to take small actions that build evidence. Confidence is not built by thinking. It is built by evidence. There's so many times in my life where I've had evidence that I've done something scared, and when I did it, it worked out. That's your evidence. When something is scary and you do it anyway, go back to that time you did it anyway, and look how good it turned out. That's your evidence right there. Keep going back to that, because that's where your confidence lies, in doing things that scare you, that make you feel uncomfortable. Because in every action, there is evidence, and evidence creates belief, and that belief in ourselves creates more action and momentum. So ask yourself, what is one uncomfortable action I can take this week in my business? So your mindset as a wedding photographer is so important, because it isn't about becoming fearless. It is about moving in your business despite the fear. It is about giving up control to certain things that you don't necessarily need to control anymore, and just focusing on your own growth, focusing on trusting yourself and trusting in this process. And as you go, you will start to see again that evidence comes up, and you will be more confident in what you're doing in this industry. And the people that see you, they will see you for who you are, because authenticity is probably the biggest outcome of having a great nervous system and a good mindset when it comes to being a successful photographer, because your identity is not your job. Remember this, your identity is not what you do. Because for so many years, I got lost in my own identity as a wedding photographer that I thought that it was my whole identity. And people would see me as the wedding photographer. And because I was so tied to that, I was so attached to that, that I wasn't able to step out of that person outside of my job. And so we don't want that. We want work, we want life, we want balance, work-life balance. We want all of it, but it has to intertwine in a way that creates fulfillment in your life, not only for you, but for those you love and for your clients, so that harmony can live within the cycle. So I hope that this course is going to help you, and I can't wait to dive in more. And let's get started. See you soon.